My name is James Gilbert Woods Jr. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Old Baptist Hospital. I grew up in this community, Oakland community in Fountain City. The years I was growing up that I can recall, was from 65 till present. I attended Oakland Colored School for 3 years. Then I went to Smithwood Middle School. Then I went to Central High School. Then I went to University of Tennessee.
You have any fond memories of your school days?
Not a lot, just growing up being a kid, and doing kid things. Well, desegregation, they tried to make it as easy as possible when I went from, say, Oakland Colored School to Smithwood. But we used to have to walk to school sometimes, and we used to have to take a shortcut through the Greenwood Cemetery because people would throw things at us on the way to school, try to hit us with the cars and stuff. So we always take a shortcut through Greenwood Cemetery and avoid all that till we could come right out and cross Tazewell Pike. And one day we were walking to school and we decided, just to go down Tazewell Pike, and this lady, she tried to hit she did hit her, but she didn't hurt her. Hit one of the people I was walking to school with, this girl, but she didn't hurt her, so we make it on to school. And the principal, he was pretty racist, Kenneth Reed. He was pretty racist and stuff, and he'd say, I get the word Negro and nigger mixed up, and he was pretty racist, but we got out of there, and things was just growing up in the 70s, just like transition, from what it was then to what it is now. Let's see, we got out of a desegregated school and I left Smithwood in 72. So let's see, from the 3rd grade, I'd say from 3rd to the 8th grade, that was 5 years. I spent 5 years there. So I got out of that school, out of Smithwood in 72. I went there, I guess, say, if I go back 5 years from 72, that'll make it about what, 67, I guess. And as far as I can remember, I had to probably sit down and count it up. But your question was, when did I get out? Well,
or when did it start?
Oh, when did it start? Okay, when did it start? I'd say it started, if I can recall, maybe 67. Because I went to Oakland Colored School, for 3 years. Then we, after desegregation, went to Smithwood, which is now, it's a church now. It used to be Tennessee School of Electronics, but now it's a church there on Tazewell Pike. Well, things changed, and it was supposedly for the better. I guess some things were for the better, supposedly a better education, and better food, because a lot of times whenever our lunch, the food that they couldn't use at the white schools, they would ship over to our schools. So it was more open, and I did make some friends, like a lot of times only certain kids are bad. They have their parents' attitude, and some try to treat you, as you treat them, So it was experience growing up, good memories, bad memories, but like I say, I try to leave it all in the past and just worry about what's happening today.
Were you involved in sports or any kind of things like that in school?
Oh yeah, my dad, he used to take all us to football practice. It was me, this guy named Philip Jard, my cousins, Luther Woods, Fred Woods, and Don Hall. We all used to go to we always used to take all the football, practice. We go to football together. I went to Gresham one year, like it was whenever they put the junior high school in a school by itself. You had middle, you had junior high, then you had high school. And one year I went to Gresham, which was a junior high, and I played football there. And then I went to Central High School. I played football and track there. And it was an experience, Just
Who were the school's biggest rivals back then?
Back then, biggest rivals were Fulton and Bearden. Fulton and Bearden were our biggest rivals. Oh yeah, and Holston. Can't forget Holston, they were big rivals too. Oh yes, I went to church here.
Okay, and where are we right now?
Yeah, where we're at right now. Not so much now, but when I grew up, I went here, you know, and you know, most of my, you know, mom and dad, they went here, my sisters. You know, I got three sisters, and, you know, we all went here. And it was good to be in church back then, you know. It was, you know, you got to see all your people, you know, all your neighbors, and, you know, got to know them. And just everybody you basically knew was here, right here, you know. And it was, you know, segregated, you know. It wasn't like it is now where, you know, you have mixed congregations. Back then it was pretty much just all black. Okay, my father, he was James G. Woods Sr., and I'm James G. Woods Jr. My mother, she was Hazel Mercedes Woods, and she was Hazel Ewing, before she married my father.
Where were they from?
My mom, they started out in Hook Creek over in Claiborne County, and then they moved to Grainger County. They had a 100-acre farm in Grainger County, and they worked that until they got old where they couldn't rework it. Then they moved to Marshtown, you know, bought a little house in Marshtown and lived there, and, you know, until they passed.
What did they do for a living?
My grandfather, he was a farmer, and as far as I know, my grandmother, she was just a housewife, you know, took care of the house and helped take care of the farm.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad, he worked at Alcor Aluminum Company for about, I think, 43 years, I think, and my mom, she was like a domestic. I lived out here in Fountain City,
So
in Oakland.
They had a long commute then?
Yeah, my dad, he had to drive to Alcor. My mom, she worked over here in Fountain City, you know, and Holston Hills, sometime out in West Knoxville.
Did they have any hobbies growing up?
My dad, he had a garden, and we used to work the garden, and then we used to go hunting. We'd hunt turtles, you know, and we, you know, cook them and stuff, you know, and we'd sell them, you know. So his hobby was hunting, you know, turtles, rabbits, squirrels, stuff like that.
Oh, really? Do you still do any of that?
No, I don't fool around too much anymore. Like I used to go with him because like he enjoyed it, but me, I just kind of let all that go. Sure, my dad's father died when he was 12, so he might have did it with his uncles, you know, and those folks. But my father's father died when he was about 12 years old, so he pretty much had to, you know, help be the man of the house and take care of the family. Which side of the family?
Well, you can start with your father.
Well, my father, you know, I knew my grandmother, that was Priscilla Woods, and her maiden name was Gibbs, and her brother, he lived here for a while, and most of the people, you know, like, within Detroit, a lot of blacks moved from down south to Detroit because it was more opportunity to work, you know, car factories, different factories, make more money, have a decent living and everything. So most of my folks now are in Detroit. I have some in Ohio, you know, my dad's side. And I talk to them pretty regularly, you know, and see them, you know, on Facebook and all that.
What about your mother's side of the family?
My mother's side of the family, a lot of them are from New York and New Jersey, and a lot of them still live in Grainger County and in Claiborne County, over that way. And I haven't been in a while. I used to take my mom over to Hook Creek, or whatever we call it, and to the homecomings, and up to Blaine, Tennessee on Brown Road. They'd have homecomings there. I used to go to that because most of the people in Grainger County, I'm related to them some kind of way, you know. So like, it used to be like, they call it Brown Mountain, and you know, they still have homecoming, still a church up there. You know, I haven't attended in a while, but a lot of them still in Grainger County. No, both my parents have passed.
Where are they buried at?
In the Veteran Cemetery off of John Sevier. I knew my grandmother on my dad's side, and she lived to be, back then I guess it was old, you know, she was 69, she passed. She had I think liver cancer or something, she passed. And then my other grandmother on my mom's side, she lived to be 102 and a half, but then stomach cancer finally got her. And my grandfather, he like, when they moved to Marshtown, I think he was maybe there 2 or 3 years, and then I think he might have had cancer and he passed. I like to say he'd been a farmer all his life, and then he passed away. And I remember going up to the farm, you know, when they was in Grainger County and, you know, feeding the chickens and stuff, you know, and one day I jumped over in the hog pen because I saw some baby pigs and the sow got after me. It was going to bite me and I had to jump back out. I had sense enough to get back out before she got a hold of me. So it was a nice farm. You know, we went up there, I think, maybe 7 years ago when my mom was still alive. We went up and see the old house, and the people now, they just let the house fall in disrepair. They got a trailer up there, you know, and the house is there, got a tree growing up through the middle of it, you know. So, you know, it's still there, but, you know, the people just kind of let it go down. My one grandmother on my dad's side, she's buried up the street in the Methodist cemetery. It used to be the Methodist church, but it's another church now. It's got a red roof on it, and the cemetery behind it. I have an uncle buried there. My grandmother's buried there. I think my grandfather's buried there, and that's on my dad's side. And my grandfather and grandmother are buried in Grainger County in a little private cemetery up there. Well, let's see. They used to attend. I don't know the name of the church in Hoop Creek, Tennessee, but they attended the black church in Hoop Creek, Tennessee, and then they attended the church on Brown Mountain. I don't know if it's Mount Zion or whatever, but it's the only church up on Brown Mountain in Grainger County and Brown Road. I said Brown Mountain, Brown Road, but they attended church there. I don't know if it's Mount Zion or Shiloh or what, but they attended that church.
Can you tell me what everyday life was like here in Oakland?
Slow, dull, try to find something to do. Real country back then. Just walking around the block, talking to people, trying to stay out of trouble, not to upset any of the older folks, because, you know, everybody's watching everybody's kids, and if you messed up, they call your parents and let them know. So, you know, basically you try to avoid all the spots where they were watching you, you know, and maybe shoot basketball or throw football or baseball, you know, whatever, because back then baseball was pretty big, and, you know, baseball, football, boxing, and track, they were all big sports back then. Basically, you know, either over at the church, I used to like clean the building and cut the grass. I remember once I was cutting the grass, the cemetery back here, and back when we used to wear bell bottoms and stuff, and I cut over a hole in the ground, and all these yellow jackets flew up my pants, and this stung the crap out of me, and I come out of all my clothes except for my underwear. And so I ran down the street, so I said, well, doggone, they done quit stinging me. I guess I put my clothes back on. So I put my clothes back on. They were still in my clothes, so I had to sit up there and just shake all the bees out, you know. So I went home. My dad said, you get that grass cut over to church? I said, nope. He said, why not? I said, well, I got stung about 100 times, and I can't do nothing much right now. So but back then, people, you know, you didn't have all these allergies that you got now. So I pretty much shook it off, you know, and the next day I just had a bunch of knots on my head and all over, you know, and pulling stickers out, you know. I said, what is that? Those look, you know, I thought they were stones. They were stickers. I had them all over me, you know, pull them out. But just basically just walking, talking to your friends and coming home. It wasn't a whole lot to do. They used to have something where the lady would come out from the city recreation league. They have a big chest full of balls and bats and stuff, you know. And we'd sometimes go up to the playground, and we'd play softball, you know, and do that. And we'd play softball, hit the ball, you know, and we'd have a bunch of teams and everybody get to play, and we'd enjoy that, you know. And just glad to grow up and, you know, get out and go to school and, you know, just become a man, you know, get out of the neighborhood.
Growing up, were you involved with this church at all?
Yeah, like I said, I was I called it the junior deacon, I guess. I'd clean it up and, you know, and all that, cut the grass and sing in the choir. And we'd have little programs. Sometimes I'd usher, you know, things of that nature. Holidays were always good, plenty to eat, you know, and toys and stuff, and bicycles and all that stuff. And just go and see my grandmother, you know. We'd go to Morristown to see her, but she lived in Morristown. Then I had an uncle, he lived in Morristown too. We'd go over his house, and his wife was a big cook. She cooked enough food for 20 people, you know, and we'd go over there. She had cakes and chicken and ham and all that, you know. And he had like outdoors. He had like a garden, you know. He had like an orchard. He had trees, peach trees and apple trees, grapevines, and you know, he had tomato plants. He had a little bit of everything. You know, he had a nice garden outside, you know. So we'd always go up there and, you know, his house. He said, man, take some of this. We can't eat all this. You can't can all this. So we'd always come home with apples, peaches, grapes, whatever, you know, cherries, whatever. He had it all. He had like a little orchard out in his backyard. He planted all these trees, and I hated whenever he passed away, because I think his stepson, he cut all that stuff down. But you know, it was nice while it lasted. Well, you know, the kid, you look forward to Christmas. You look forward to your birthday. And I guess you look forward, back then, you know, you used to look forward to Mother's Day and Father's Day and all that, you know, and you would enjoy that. And New Year's, you know, and look forward to going back to school, and look forward when school's out. And then you'd always think, well, what would I be doing 20 years from today, you know, 30 years from today, you know, and excuse me. And those are things, you know. My dad used to tell me, you know, about when he was in the war. He was in World War II, you know, and how bad it was, you know, and just death and bodies everywhere, you know. It kind of gave him PTSD because he'd seen so much death, you know, in Germany. So it was pretty bad.
Did you have a lot of family members that were in the war?
I know my dad was, and I'm sure some of my other uncles were, but I never talked to them about it. You know, just basically talked to him. Then sometime after he got older, he didn't really want to talk about it because, you know, like when you're younger, you can pretty much handle a lot of stuff. When you get older, it really bothers you, you know. Then when they had the first Gulf War, and it really got him upset. And he said, I don't want to watch it, you know. So he turned it off, and we'd always talk about something else. Everybody would look forward to homecoming and another church coming out. We had, we had two preachers that lived in the neighborhood. One was Reverend Matthews. He just lived down the street that way. And one was Reverend Jordan. He lived down here. And we'd always have other churches come over, you know, and, you know, we'd have service with them, you know, and everybody, you know, would, you know, try to get here, and you know, but like it was just so small, you know, you have a lot of people so small, a lot of times you'd go outside and eat, you know, or whatever, you know, get your plate, go outside, eat in your car or whatever. Then we'd have our service, and we'd have one air conditioner, and it'd be about 100 degrees inside, you know, but that didn't slow them down from keeping the service going a long time. So everybody'd be fanning and sweating, you know, and all that, you know. Well, nothing like it is now, you know. So we had community events. We'd have a vacation Bible school. We'd have that, excuse me, you know, during the summer, you know, at vacation Bible school, and people would come out, and, you know, it would help. And once I got injured at vacation Bible school, the water heater, it went supernova. I didn't know it. I turned the water on to wash my hands, and it scalded my hand right here. It just took all the skin off my hand. It wasn't but white meat right there, you know. But you can see when you're young enough, anything will heal, you know. So I healed from that, you know. But those are the only events I think we used to have. Vacation Bible school, you know. We'd have Halloween. We'd trick or treat out here. Long before they had trunk or treat, and like they do now, we just go around the neighborhood and trick or treat, you know, and go home, you know. To my knowledge, the church back when I was coming, they never, you know, gave out candy. It was just strictly the neighborhood, you know, people giving out candy. You know, the people, you know, who had kids or who, you know, liked kids would give out candy. A lot of people, you know, they didn't have kids, they didn't like kids. Well, they just leave their light on, they wouldn't fool with you, you know. So mostly just the people out here who had kids and, you know, who liked kids, they would give out candy. Let's see, I say Mr. Paul McClure, he's dead now. He always would talk, you know, to you with sense, you know. He sat down, he tried to talk to you, and, you know, and just go through things, you know, and try to explain it to you, and just not say, do it like this and leave it like that. You know, he just tried to talk and explain it out to you. But Mr. Paul McClure, he was pretty good about talking things out with you. Well, it's changing, you know. Nothing like it used to be, and in some ways it's better, you know. And I'm just happy, you know, you took this time out to find a little bit out about the community. Well, let's see, Reverend McGee, he was a good pastor, you know, and I really enjoyed his service, you know, and I enjoy Reverend Tolbert now. And it just, like I say, we're the old folks now, you know. Back then, you know, you think all those folks will be around forever, but you know, like I say, you look around and they just leaving here every day. And now I think in this neighborhood, we have one person, I think, who we can kind of connect with the old days. I think she might be 90, you know, but she's the only original person out here, you know, who's been out here in the neighborhood, you know. I think Miss Geraldine McClure, I think she's maybe about the oldest person out here now in the neighborhood that I know of.